Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Ask a Brit. 23. At this point, we are starting to sound like a Jim Carrey movie. But of course, this is the series in which I answer any of your questions, so long as you leave those questions in the comments below my videos using the hashtag AskABrit. And of course, this week, many of you did that very thing. In fact, more than is customary. And I think that's because we've had a surge in traffic recently, which is phenomenal. Because of that, I wasn't able to get to everybody's questions. But if your question is not answered in this video, ask it again. Maybe it'll get in next week's. It's getting to the point now, I think, where I'm going to have the very nice problem of not knowing which questions to choose because they're all so good. And that includes the very first question today from Pips K. Welcome to the channel, Pips K. I think Pips K, you are one of our new subscribers, and it's good to see you here. And Pips K asks, what do you do if you love all things Scottish, Doctor Who, and Lord of the Rings and/or The Hobbit? Here's what I would do. I would cast Pippin as the Doctor. Problem solved. Right? But no, I see what you're saying. I'm obviously a big Doctor Who fan, a huge Lord of the Rings fan as well. I don't really talk about it in great detail. And a big fan of the Scottish people too. So, obviously Billy Boyd, Peter Capaldi, David Tennant, and then I just love Scottish people in general. Not all Scottish people. Some of them are very untoward. That's true of any country, of course. I'm not just singling out the Scots for their pool of notorious folk. But yeah, no, just all round, I agree. So what you do is you just keep doing more of it. Just keep loving them more if you can. Don't love them too much. That could get obsessive, although, Doctor Who and Lord of the Rings certainly has its obsessive fan bases. Next question comes from E, which is definitely YouTube name of the week, if only for the onomatopoeic pronunciation that I had to put forth there. And E says, what is your opinion on Grimsby? Grimsby is my hometown, for those of you who are new to the channel. My opinion is it's my hometown, for those of you that are new to the channel. I grew up there. I have a lot of fond memories from that place. They may be memories that come about through rose-tinted glasses. I remember my childhood in Wybers Wood being really nice. I covered this in a video very recently. But my opinion obviously counts for nothing when you listen to the experts. And the experts say it's the worst town to live in the United Kingdom, I think, right? But for me, it was good. I liked it. Could do with a lick of paint. But other than that, it's good. It's where my family lives. So I've got to say nice things about it in many ways. Next question comes from Nikki Snow on Twitter. And Nikki asks, is my boyfriend low-key insulting me by saying, aha, bless you, after most things that I say? He is, Nikki, yeah, but it's very, very, very low-key, all right? He still likes you, I assume. I mean, I'm not privy to your relationship, but I do assume that it's a good one if he's using that term, and it just means it's just a very softly patronizing way of saying, oh, you're a funny one, aren't you? I assume, unless he's got ulterior motives. I can't speak for your boyfriend entirely. If he does have ulterior motives, tell him from me to stop being a bell end. Okay, next question comes from 327HKS, who asks, have you ever considered doing a DNA test to see if you have more cousins in the US besides the ones in Utah? So it's very true. I actually have not cousins necessarily in Utah, but back in my ancestry, going way back into my ancestry, a number of my family members did leave England to move to Utah. They moved out to Utah. I've not met them. Their lineage may or may not have continued. It would be good to talk about our mutually shared great grand cousin, if that is indeed a thing. Don't know if it is. Probably isn't. I don't know how we're related. We just are, and see what goes there. But as for looking into other relatives that may or may not be around America through a DNA test, I've not done that. It would be very interesting to do so. Because I imagine, given my own heritage, my English heritage, and my local proximity actually back home to the town of Boston, where some of the pilgrims left from, there's every chance, I suppose, that there are more people that came this way back in the day. I did hear a rumor that my family was related to a Mr. G. Washington, whoever that is. It could be somebody important. Probably check it out at some point. Next question comes from Sabrina Gens. Sabrina asks, what state would you and your wife choose to put roots down? And have you and your awesome wife planned on having any little ones? What state would you and your wife choose to put roots down? Well, currently, obviously, we're in the state of Illinois. But I've actually thought many a time about the Pacific Northwest. specifically the state of Washington and Oregon. I don't know why. I think it's often been said that the weather, not that my life is dictated by weather, although it apparently seems that way in some of these videos, but some of the weather out there is somewhat akin to England, and I would be very happy to put roots down there in many respects. I do really like living in Chicago, so I don't know, I foresee myself living here for a good many years, to be honest. And as for having little ones, we already have twins. They're four-legged twins with tails and whiskers, but there are little ones at the minute. No major plans, I don't think, to birth sprogs into the world, sprogs being British slang for babies. Gareth Bennett Ryan asks, Mr. Lawrence, do you think that radio DJ and sports casual fashion icon Alan Partridge has had much of an impact in America? And if not, then A, why not? And B, what do you think they would make of him, they being Americans? Well, you know what, Gareth, I don't know that Mr. Partridge has really made it too far in the stratosphere that is America. And that's because I think a lot of his comedy is very British-centric. You have to understand some of the local references that he makes to Norfolk and the like. So it could be that that's why he's not really made it over here. Now, I had heard that his film, Alpha Papa, was moderately successful over here. When I say that, it was the highest rated film that time of the year in the Massachusetts area. But no, to answer your question, he's not made it big here yet. And, in some ways, I think that's good. It keeps him as one of ours that hasn't been taken over. You know how people complain that they made a remake of the British Office, although I was quite a fan of the American Office. But this is one of those that hasn't yet been taken, and I don't think can be taken. I think it's I don't know. I don't think it could really be replicated, what he does. It's very Steve Coogan in many ways. Maybe Steve Coogan would do the American version. Johan Mahoney Berg. If the BBC had to cancel due to budget cuts either Doctor Who or EastEnders, which should it be? I mean, come on. Doctor Who, right? There should be a law that Doctor Who should never be cut. It should be illegal. It should go on for 100 seasons, right, with 100 different doctors. That would be one doctor a season. Can't do the math, but, there should be a number of Doctor Who's. EastEnders, that should have been cut in the 80s. So I'm kidding. I don't want to elicit violent responses from fans of EastEnders, particularly Grant Mitchell. Oi, Lawrence, I've come to put a brick in your face, mate. Yeah, whatever, Mitchell. You're not scaring me with your frickin' words. Brooke Jonas. Hi, Lawrence. I have two questions for you. Firstly, would you ever go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Yes, I would. The Steel City. Funnily enough, we have a Steel City in England. Sheffield is known as that. And Pittsburgh is on my radar. Pennsylvania in general is very much on my radar just because of its historic aspect. So, all of the burgs really, Gettysburg, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, and also on top of that, Philadelphia. I did fly into Philadelphia once, but I only saw it from the airport. It looked like it was quite a bustling city. Pennsylvania in general, I'm going to do a tour of one of these days with my Finding America series. We'll get that underway. And speaking of the Finding America series, just a quick plug. Anybody that likes what I do with the Finding America travel series and would like to support us in any way, you can do so by going to patreon.com/lostinthepond. And any money that we receive there, we put toward the travel costs and the production of the show that we take around America. We're trying to get all 50 states by the year 2020. It is quite a goal, but we are absolutely desperate to fulfill it. And Brooke also asks, is England a good place to study abroad for someone studying to be a teacher? I can say that from the Americans that I've ever spoken to that have studied abroad in England, that firstly, it is a great place to study abroad, depending on the university that you choose. As for doing it for education purposes, for teaching, I'm not sure. I couldn't speak directly to that. My own degree was in English language, and the people I've known took history and English literature and a few other things. But I'd imagine it probably is, yeah. But if you have, questions around specific universities, I might be able to answer that a bit more in detail, just because I've had a few friends that have gone to various universities and they may show up on that list. I would just say do it if you get the chance. That might be quite reckless of me, but just to see England in general, it's a great way actually to do it, is to go there, because you get, if you're going for just one semester, that's 3 months there in the country to just check it out, to go check out all of the places that don't sort of get on the radar of, your average non-Brit. So places outside of London, up north, another plug for the Lake District, one of my favourite places, York, all of that. I'm getting off track, but I hope that somewhat in a roundabout way answers your question, Brooke. And next question comes from Beth8554. Who are your favourite American playwrights? What is your dream theatre role? David Mamet is a good one. Glengarry Glen Ross, very dramatic. I think that my dream theatre role, I've always wanted to play Frank in Educating Rita. Which is a play by Willie Russell, and I've never gotten the chance to do so. I also really want to play Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. He's a bit of a bastard at the start, but then turns out to be quite likeable, so a lot like me in many ways. Next question and final question today comes from Lisa Meath, and Lisa asks, Lawrence, would you be willing to learn to drive to take a trip along Route 66 to California? I would absolutely be willing to learn to drive for that very route, but also for many other routes across the US. And of course, it has become very apparent that there are going to be many times when we're going to have to drive around the country. You can't just get from point A to point B by train and plane every time because, some places, and even if you could, you'd still need a car once you get there. It's not like you can just walk around some of these big places like the Grand Canyon or what have you. So yeah, I think part of the plan is actually to learn to drive at some point. Either that or the wife will have to do all of the driving. Are you okay with that? She's nodding. She's not here. I'm making all of that up. And hopefully that answers your question, Lisa. And that's all we've got time for this week. Keep your questions coming. Like I said, I'd like to have a plethora of them, so I've got a lot to choose from. It's always nice to have selection. We have some more videos coming out in the week, so stay tuned for those. And if you've not already done so, subscribe to Lost in the Pond by clicking our logo at the end of this video. And don't forget to go to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to follow our profiles there. And you can also go to our website, lostinthepond.com. Until next time, cheerio, bye, see ya.